Hey there, it's Julie Hutchison here from Think Be Do Leadership on day 22 of Team on Fire. How to get your team on fire, as in meaning that they're excited, enabled, and engaged with you and with your business, so that they do a fantastic job. That's what we're all about. And so, day 22, here we are. Gosh, we're nearly done for October. But today we're talking about why your team isn't listening to you. Uh, and I always say, what did you say? Uh, it's not a joke, because it's not funny, is it, when your team aren't listening to you? You thought you'd said something, you thought you were making yourself clear, and they're not even listening, and you're not really sure why they're not listening. There are a ton of reasons, but today I want to look at why your team might not be engaged with you, why they're not really listening to you. So this isn't about whether they can do the job that you want them to do. It isn't about whether they agree with what you're trying to do. Do they think that what your idea is a massively great idea? This is about you and them, and whether they want to do what you want them to do, whether they're even listening to anything you say, and whether they're engaged with it. So that's what we're talking about today. Okay. Hang on one second. So what I want to talk about is, I suppose, let's just start up with if you've got a team of people that aren't doing it and don't want to work with you, they don't want to listen to you. That's one thing, but maybe they can't actually hear what you're saying. So we need to look at it in three different ways. So first of all, have you got the connection with your team? Now, the funny thing is, if we say a team's a big thing, and that's like a number of people, and you can have a connection with the team as a whole, and it can feel pretty good. You could say, oh yeah, it's like 75% brilliant. But if you've got 25% not brilliant, then there are individuals within that 25% that aren't feeling brilliant, which means that you've got 25% more room to play with to get better. So we need to break it down, not just into like, oh, the team and it's pretty good. We need to look at individuals as to, good, bad, indifferent. How well connected and engaged are my team members? Because if they're not engaged with you and they're not connected with you, then they are not going to be listening to you. Okay, so what we need to look at then is, like Bob in the back room. Do I understand Bob? Yeah, have I got a connection with Bob? I don't have to be Bob's best mate, but I need to understand what makes him tick, what floats his boat, what makes him feel really good, what makes him feel really bad, what motivates him, and how does he like to communicate, so that when I do communicate, then I'm coming at him on the right wavelength. You've heard that phrase before. So am I coming at him on the right wavelength? Am I making sense to him? And all of those things. So we need to create the connection, so we have half a chance of actually understanding, well, what does Bob need? And believe you me, you could say, well, Bob should be listening anyway. He gets paid to listen. Yes, that is true. But since you're listening to this, you must have a desire to improve the things. So Bob's not on this call. So we're going to look at what you can do. Because remember, behavior breeds behavior. So if you understand Bob and you start to really experience life from Bob's shoes, and you see it from his point of view, and you understand what's going on for Bob, then he's probably going to think, hey, you know what? I don't know your name. So Felicity understands me really well. I have more respect and I'm going to listen more. Okay, so that's one thing. So first of all, it's creating connection. That's number one. The second point is the impact that you have. So what do I mean? Well, we know that every contact leaves a trace, as they say. In other words, in forensics, if you commit a crime and you brush against something, there's going to be a trace left when you have some form of interaction with something. Well, the same happens when we interact with people. Every contact leaves a trace. So let's go back to Bob. If Bob has a negative experience of you, or you come in and you're like Mr. Mood Hoover, or you're not feeling good today, and everybody gets it because of it, everybody hears it from you and everybody feels it from you, then the impact, the way you show up, will change the way that person shows up, will change the way that person responds to you. Okay, and if the experience they're having from you, or even from anybody else in the team, is negative, then they're not going to be hearing what you say. They're not going to be taking a positive view of what you say, and they're just not going to listen at all. So we need to look at, how am I showing up in the business? Because obviously, well, maybe not obviously, you want people to listen to you. You want people to, be ready to listen to you. So we have to be ready to listen when somebody says something and somebody communicates something or emails or whatever. But if we've already got a face on because we don't like what that person's being and how they're behaving, then the reality is they're not going to do what you want them to do. They're not going to be listening to you because they're shut, they're closed. They've got the shutters down literally because they don't want to hear what you've got to say. So because of the behavior that you show up with, so the way in which you show up, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to back off because I don't want to be around it. So I don't want to be part of something. So I'm not engaged with you because I'm pushing away because I don't like the behavior. Okay. So we create this cycle of not listening or not engaging, and therefore nobody's going to hear, nobody's going to want to do what you want to do. So really, really important. So we've got understanding people, connecting with people, looking at ourselves and how we show up. And the last point that we're going to talk about is how do we influence people? How do we communicate with people so that they listen? And so I'm going to give you an example of just one area that is super important. And that is that when we've got our own business, when we have grown it like a little baby and we really care about it, then often we know everything about our business, but we've grown from that position of being the technical expert in the business. We've grown from the position of doing everything. And then suddenly we've got Bob in the corner who's now going to do all the work for us, or going to do all those things that we don't want to do. And we're trying to delegate and we're trying to communicate and we want Bob to listen to what we've got to say. The problem is that often we're not communicating at the level that Bob needs. So we connected. If we've connected, we then need to adapt and influence in a way that is particular to the person that you're talking to, or particular to the team, or particular to the group, if there is a group. But let's say it's Bob, and so we need to change the way we speak. We need to change the way we come at this. We need to maybe go into more detail, or maybe go into less detail, or really look at the way in which we're speaking, how we're linking things to why something is important, how we're linking things to what do they want them to do, and how we're linking them to how do we want them to do it. So why should they be doing it? What does it look like? How do we want you to do that? And when we link that to that connection piece, as in how do we need to approach that individual person, then we start to have somebody who feels like you care, you've got a positive impact on them, and now you're talking their language, and you're talking in a way that means they can understand what you're trying to achieve, why you're trying to achieve it, and how they can get involved. Suddenly they're listening, because we're chunking it up and we're putting it to them in a way that they can hear. And if you don't do that and you've got those three pieces missing, or one of those three pieces missing, then you're not going to be somebody who is really heard in the business. So you're going to think that people aren't listening, and they're going to think that you either don't understand them, don't care, aren't that great a person because you're showing up and everything's falling off you negatively, or you're just talking gobbledygook and they're overwhelmed, or they're confused because they don't really see how that works for them and what they need to do. But when you put all those three together, suddenly people feel like, one, they're part of a team, and two, that you are bringing them in and understanding them and talking their language. And I mean, let's think about that exact phrase, talking their language. Just think, if I'm English, which I am, if I go to, where am I going to go to? Greece. Yeah. If I go to Greece and I start talking English at people, they're all going to be like, don't know what you're talking about, whatever it's going to be. They don't know what it is. And I'm going to say, oh, it's all Greek to me, because we're not speaking the same language. And so this is how we find out, what language do I need to speak? How do I need to get my point across so that that person is going to be listening to me? So Bob hears what I'm going to say. Or if you are in Greece, you've got to learn a little bit of Greek. You see my dog's feet in the background then. She's rolling around in the background. You've got to speak a little bit of Greek to be able to get your point across to the Greek person. Yeah, you've got to be able to speak a bit of French to get your point across to the French person. So you've got to find out, what language do they speak, but more than that, what's going on for them? How do I need to behave so that they even want to listen to me? Yeah, like you go to some countries, and if you don't make the effort, so especially English people, because we're a bit like that, because English is one of those wide languages that almost everybody speaks. So sometimes it's easier just to speak in English. And that's a total presumption, and it's not fair on other people. So sometimes when we go to other countries, particularly France, because that's where I go the most. My dog's coughing now. Oh, thanks, Meg. Apologies for that. She's making hideous noises. Are you all right? No. I just muted myself because she's choking in the background. Okay. Revolting. My dog. Anyway, where were we? So we go to France a lot, and if we don't make the effort to try, even just to try to speak French, then often the French person won't try to speak English. And later, quite often, the funny thing is that we discover that person could speak English. They knew what we were talking about, but they weren't going to make the effort because we didn't make the effort. Does that make sense? Although I'm always trying to make the effort because I love the French language. So as an example, though, when people don't make the effort, however bad they are at doing it, if they don't make it, then that person will be like, well, you didn't make the effort. I'm not going to try and understand you. So it's like a two-way thing. Whereas when we go to France, if we do make the effort, the lovely French person behind the shop counter will probably laugh their head off at us for trying. But you know what? It makes a massive difference because they are more engaged with us, and they're like, she tried, she made a mess of it, but actually, you know what? I'm now going to put my lovely English skills to the test and have a go because I'm engaged with Julie because she tried to speak my language. So I hope that makes sense to you. And apologies for the dogs coughing in the background. So this and other strategies are some of the things that we talk extensively about in the Leaders Launchpad and in the Team on Fire program and in our confident communication programs too, because they all link into each other. They're all about how do I engage people to want to be there, to be able to be there, and to have a wonderful time being amazing in my team, in my business. So if you would love some help in getting your team to be working on fire and being productive and happy and it being fun in your business, then give me a shout because actually we can probably help you quite a lot. And you remember, happy, productive people make more money in your business. So give me a shout. You take care. Bye-bye.